It's time to predict the upcoming season. I'm going to make all my FPL predictions. Let's get stuck right in. Who is going to score the most points? And don't get me wrong, there are some differential picks throughout this, but this one has to be template. All at once, Mohamed Salah. You can't pick other than that. It has to be Salah. He's been so consistent for so many seasons. I think Liverpool are going to do absolutely outstanding this year, as always. You know, Mane gone, but they've made a couple of great signings. I think it's hard to look past Mohamed Salah. Next up, we're going to predict the best scoring 8 million midfielder. There's some really interesting options in this category, including Saka, Mount, Maddison, Kulusevski, Foden, and Mahrez. So I think the best performer here is going to be James Maddison. He was the best performer in these bunch last year in terms of points, and I think this season is going to be huge for him. I think his quality is unquestionable, and if he goes on to have a season like last and plays the 38 games, I think he played 35 last season, I could see him touching 200 points. Who is going to be the biggest flop next season? And I think to be a flop, you have to have a decent price tag attached to you. Now, there's been some notable signings in the league this summer, but the one I'm going to pick out, because I do think Darwin will do well at Liverpool. I think he'll get the game time. I think Haaland will do really well at City. The obvious one here for me in terms of a 10 million plus price tag or in and around that range is it's Raheem Sterling. You know, I actually really like the move for him, but equally we've seen a lot of big players, particularly up the pitch, head to Chelsea and flop in previous seasons. Remember Lukaku, Ziyech, we've had Timo Werner a bit longer ago, but Morata happened as well. There's been loads of signings further up the pitch for Chelsea, and I just fear that Raheem Sterling could fall into that flop category as well. I'm sorry if he's in your draft. The next one is the best points per million, and we have to fly past this because it's Trent Alexander-Arnold for me. At 7.5 million, an absolute no-brainer. I expect him to score more than 200 points, and I think he's just gonna smash this category. Best points per million, TAA. For the best priced enabler, I've decided to go for Patterson at Everton, the young right back. He's been doing really well in pre-season. He got 2 assists versus Blackpool, and he's only 4 million. I wanted to go for a 4 million player here to really be the best enabler, the best points per million from a budget player. I think Patterson could do okay at Everton. I think they should improve next season. They were pretty dismal last year, just escaping relegation. So I think it was between him or Nico Williams for me. I think I really rate Williams. I really like him. I just worry about Forest as a team coming into a league like this. To be honest, there's not a hell of a lot in them. They're both 4 million. They're both in teams that I expect to be lower table. But if I have to pick one, recency bias tells me Patterson with those assists I've seen. He looked really good on the wing. Now we're getting even more controversial. For the most overpriced player of the year. So I'm expecting a little bit of hate. I had a look around, there's a lot of options here, but the one I've decided to go for was Patrick Bamford. I just feel 7.5 for Bamford is way out of place, and I don't think it's... Look, he might perform okay. I just don't think he does that much better than the players priced below him, and I don't think he does anywhere near as well as the players priced the same as him. So for that reason, I do think he's overpriced. No more Bielsa ball, so I don't think we're going to see the all-out attacking leads that we've seen in the past. I think it's going to be a much more cagey team. And in pre-season when Bamford was on the pitch, Rodrigo took a penalty, so Bamford mightn't even have penalties. He's priced the same as Wilson, Antonio and Watkins, and to be honest, I would say he'll be the worst of the 4 of those. So I had to say he's overpriced. Equally, for cheaper than him, and sometimes quite substantially cheaper, you can get the likes of Jimenez, Martial, Solanke and Mitrovic recently promoted. Even Julian Alvarez is $1 million cheaper at Man City, and I think at some stage in the season he might be a viable option if rotation patterns are allowing it. I just think 7.5 for a Leeds forward. No harm to Paddy, but Paddy Bamford, I think you're the most overpriced for me. The most underpriced player, no prizes for guessing, Marcus Rashford at 6.5 million. A couple of goals and lots of minutes under the belt in pre-season, 3 million cheaper than last year. A Manchester United midfielder, a team that could find form, new manager bounce. I think Rashford could provide the most value this season if things go United's way. And an honourable shout out in this category to a guy I love, Bruno Guimaraes of Newcastle. Performed amazingly whenever he came in there in January, and he's already got a goal in pre-season. I think he's going to perform really well. I think he'll match some of the scores that the 8 million guys are going to score this year. I think he'll surprise us at 6 million. Some nice transfer business from Newcastle. Trippier back from injury. I think Newcastle will be a force this year. with a top 10 finish. Okay, time for the hidden gem of the season. Someone that isn't being spoken about pre-season that we might very well be talking about a bit more this year. And I think there's a ton of these across the board. But I've went for this guy just due to the low ownership and nice performances in pre-season. It's Podence at Wolves, 0.4% ownership at time of recording. He's got 2 goals and an assist already in pre-season. The same price as Pedro Neto, who is probably outperforming him slightly in pre-season. But I do think, you know, if people rate Neto and think he's going to be a nice pickup this year, I think that the reduced ownership of 0.4%, that makes me think Podence is a hidden gem. And for context, at time of recording, almost 20% of people own Neto. Time for the top goal scorer. The top goal scorer this year is going to be Harry Kane. He was 6 off it last year, 23. His teammate's son was there and matched Mo Salah, 23 goals apiece. I think Harry Kane shreds it this year and gets 25 goals plus. I really am bullish on Harry Kane this year, and I'll tell you why now. In the league, since Conte has taken over, he's made the most big chances, he's had the most big chances, he has the highest XGI, he has the highest XG, and he's the highest XA. He's the highest everything since Conte took over. Conte is there going into this season. Kane is going to absolutely shred it and score 25 goals plus. Top assister, who is going to get the most assists? And this one's really hard because, I mean, there's a lot of things in the balance here, but I have to go for a guy that I just think if he stays fit, it has to be. Big Erling Haaland is signed for City, and I think Kevin De Bruyne is going to supply him with a lot of goals. I think De Bruyne is the standout option for me here, and I'm going to say he gets the most assists this season. I have to try and make a Hail Mary pick so I can look in a year's time and go, oh my god, what a genius I was. I think Trent is going to be the second, and I think in third place, Odegaard might surprise a few people. He's beautiful to watch, and I think he's going to create a lot more chances this year with Gabriel Jesus up on top. Time for a bit of a lottery. Who is going to get the most red cards and yellow cards? You know, you just have to go based off historic data. It really is hard. I mean, you know the things players get red cards and yellows for these days, but I think if I have to pick one, if it was a betting man, it would be Granit Xhaka for the Reds. For the yellows, we're going to go for Bruno Fernandes. He got like 10 last year, and I think he's going to be just as frustrated this season, if not even more. He's going to throw the toys out of the pram a few times. He might even get a red, but he definitely get a ton of yellow cards. Most bonus points, I'm going to go for Kevin De Bruyne. He only played 30 games last season with injuries and all the rest, which we know is part of his game. He's always been injured in and out, unfortunately, but he still managed 33 bonus points, the most in the league. So I think if he can get a few more games under the belt this year, maybe 34, 35, Pep Roulette always a worry, although he does seem to be a bit immune to it. I think De Bruyne smashes this, 35 bonus points this year plus. And just before my final prediction, if you're interested in signing up the hub, the link is there. It's 50% off at the moment. That won't last forever, so if you are going to sign up for the season, it's probably time. Time for the final prediction of the day, and it's who is going to rise in price the most. Bit of bias here, I love the guy, but Bruno Guimaraes at Newcastle, I just think he should be priced more than 6 million. I think he'll make a mockery of the 6 million price tag over the course of a season. I really do, and I think he'll be touching 7 million in price at the end of the year. On top of that, I'll throw in a bonus. He's going to get a mega transfer after this season, and for the 2023-2024 season, Guimaraes is going to be playing at a top club in Europe. You heard it here first. That's it for the video. Get your predictions in the comments, and at the end of the season we're going to see who's been amazing and who's been a fool, who's been the Mystic Mac, and we'll see how we all got on. Like the video and subscribe to the channel for more content. See you next time.